Hi, Zabath. My name's Colleen, and as you know, I'm an advocate for people who've had their children apprehended by the Ministry of Children and Families and other child protection agencies. And we talked this morning, and you told me the history you've had with the Ministry of Children and Families. Your children were apprehended in 2007. The ministry got an interim order for custody, which is still all they have today. They never did get a temporary custody order.
No. Yeah.
And you have 3 children?
Yeah, we have 3 children, 2 boys and a little baby girl.
And they've been separated? They're living in different foster homes?
Yes, even initially at the first removal, our 2 boys were removed, but fortunately they were placed with the grandparents for a time. But our baby was taken and placed with strangers, even though we had family and friends that would have taken her, and they're still separated.
So you haven't had a protection hearing yet, or any court proceeding that allowed you to defend yourself against the allegations the ministry made when they apprehended the children?
Oh no, we had a presentation hearing on December 14th, 07, and nothing since.
So do you intend to go back to court to try and get custody of your children returned to you?
Most definitely, yes.
Will you have a lawyer with you?
No. The ministry has drawn this out for so long that they really deplete all of your resources, and there's nothing left. We're going to have to self-rep.
Like I said, advocate for people who've had their children taken away. And in the process of representing yourself, I can support you by researching different laws, finding information for you, and helping you sort of brainstorm about how to get information and how to get support.
That's something that's really needed. I have absolutely no experience with the legalities behind this, and when you find yourself without a lawyer, you just feel lost in how to fight this and gain custody of your children again.
Having represented myself in court, I realize, and having no previous court experience or legal information, I do realize it's difficult, but and you know, it takes up a lot of time. I'm just wondering though, why don't you qualify for legal aid?
Well, when this started, we owned our own home, and we were both working. So I taught piano. My husband was working in a foundry. So we made too much, but you still don't make enough to actually dish out everything from medical experts and all the legal costs. I mean, even to go through a mediation process, you're looking at $2,500 for the lawyer that day.
And we've been told that even if you do qualify for legal aid, the lawyers are only allotted approximately 10 hours of time per case, which isn't enough in a child protection hearing.
No.
Or, you know, any hearings to do. Well, if the ministry takes your children away, it's going to be a lot more than 10 hours worth of time from a lawyer. A few of the ways that you can get help from lawyers, obviously, is duty counsel, right? Always, you know, going to the courthouse on family court day, even if you're not to be heard that day, and having your questions ready for duty counsel, because they'll be very busy. Mm-hmm. And trying to get, but sometimes they're too busy and they won't meet with you. But that's one way of getting a lawyer's assistance, although it's not much.
They probably don't have enough time to really understand your case.
After a while they will understand it, and you keep going back and you keep going back on family court day. You also utilize the law librarian, because she's very informative. If you have a question about how something is to proceed in court, and you go to the law library to look up, you know, your question, the librarian will be able to help you find your answers.
Okay, I hadn't thought of doing that as of yet. But you don't really know where to start. You have all of these false allegations against you that you're trying to disprove, and you're not sure of, which parts of the law that you need to apply to your case. And
about the false allegations and trying to disprove them, because it is difficult to disprove something that didn't happen, as we've just talked about previously, it's best to try and avoid focusing on allegations that aren't true, except to say, if you are on the stand in a courtroom testifying, to say that the allegation is false and that the ministry has no evidence, if they have no evidence, or maybe their evidence is hearsay, which you just recognize verbally in the courtroom that yes, it is acceptable in family court, but it is because of that evidence that your case isn't being portrayed as it really should have been.
Now, how do the courts view that? Like, who has the more weight when it comes to hearsay evidence?
What do you mean?
Well, if the ministry is using false allegations and hearsay evidence, and all you can do is verbally discredit that evidence, who has more weight as far as the judge using that evidence?
Well, see, the thing is, if somebody makes an accusation about you in court, if the ministry makes an allegation against you, it should be their responsibility to prove the allegation that they've made. It's not, if somebody accuses you of something, it's not your job then to go and collect the evidence to prove your innocence. It's their job to prove the accusation. But for some reason in the family court, that is not the case. The ministry will make allegations. Quite frequently, they don't have evidence to back it up, and the judge takes their word over the parents in many, many cases. It is up to you to try to always have 3 pieces of evidence to back up every statement you're going to make. If they made an allegation about you that is made on hearsay evidence, I wouldn't worry too much about it, but because there's not a lot you can do about some, if they made up a circumstance that never existed, then you don't have a way of proving that. You can't say, well, I wasn't at this place at this time, because there's no place or time to be had. It's a story. But if there are things you can prove, try to have 3 pieces of evidence to prove each point that you want to make. And get creative. If somebody called up the ministry and made a complaint about you just out of spite, and the ministry took that and used it as an allegation against you, saying that they had a witness, ask them to present their evidence that the information she provided was true. Ask them to present their witness, and take your chance to question her as well. Mm-hmm. On where she got her information. Other than that, don't focus on the little things, focus on the big things. You keep reminding them that, you have to make sure that the broader picture, comes out, because they've taken your children away and they're focusing on a lot of small points. And it needs to be known that social workers need to have a more accurate process of assessing situations. They need to have guidelines that are set in stone.